I'd like to introduce our speaker. His name is Peter Bopp, and he is going to be presenting for us today. And he is the co-founder and partner of Leadership Strategy Group. His firm provides coaching, consulting, and facilitation services to companies, leaders, and individuals. He works with many leaders within organizations to grow their personal leadership effectiveness. Inspiring leadership is a favorite focus for both Peter and his clients. He has a background in marketing and advertising, having served for 20 years as a business leader at American Express and General Foods. He uses his background to provide specialized coaching to leaders in these industries. Peter has recently served to help the Brown Alumni Association as a 4-year term on the board, and he chaired the Communications Committee and also served on the Career Networking Committee. So Peter is thrilled that Brown is now offering a more expanded suite of career services through alumni relations, and he is also happy to be participating in our career coaching program. So Peter, I would like to welcome you here today.
Well, thank you, Heather. I'm pleased to be with you all today and to be participating in the Brown Alumni Career Webinar Program. I'm looking forward to our conversation today about inspired leadership and how it should be an integral component for taking your career, team, and business to the next level. For those of you who've been able to attend some of the prior webinars, I hope you find that today's topic builds on many of the concepts that have been discussed in those prior sessions. Today we're going to put the focus on building a leadership profile and how to deliver leadership that inspires and motivates both yourself and your colleagues, your teams, and others for your cause. So with that, we're going to start with a just overview of our agenda for the day. So we're going to be talking about inspired leadership. What is it? We're going to talk about who can do it, why it's important as part of your career plan, and then we're going to go into some detail about how can you achieve it, how can you put it all together. But before we get into that, I'd like to start with a poll. So the thing I'd like to do and Heather is just going to be working to set up the poll, but I'd like you all to think about a leader that you have been inspired by, an inspiring leader that you've either worked for or worked with, you really found inspiring. Hopefully you all have someone who you can think of there, and I'd like you to write down their name. If by chance you haven't had the opportunity to work with someone who is an inspiring leader, then maybe think about someone well-known that you particularly find inspiring. So now we're going to put the poll up, and what I'd like you to do is think about what was it that made this leader so inspiring to work for. You'll see here in the poll that's on the right-hand side of your screen that there's a number of different characteristics to choose from. I'd like you to choose the single one that in your mind was most important to making the leader inspiring to work for. If by any chance your personal characteristic that worked is not there, you can choose the last option, other, and then use the chat box directly above the poll to send us a quick message with what it was that made the person inspiring. So let's take a minute and everybody get a chance to answer the poll, and then we'll look at what we've got.
Peter, there's a lot of people still thinking about it.
Okay.
I think what's hard and easy is that you're allowed to choose many different things. So,
yeah.
And as I know you're going to talk about, there's more than one characteristic for inspired leaders.
Yeah. So, for this, I would like you to just choose one, but yes, clearly, hopefully the inspiring leader exhibited many of these characteristics, but try to pick one that was most important to you.
Okay, we'll give people another few seconds. Most people are finishing up. And I know for me it's hard to choose something off this list. Okay, that looks like the last person's filling it out here. I'm going to give you the results. for everyone to see. That should be appearing on the right side of your screen. And if you can't see it, you can scroll over the words, or you can extend all the boxes on the right with some arrows there.
All right, so it looks like we've gotten a pretty broad distribution of responses here in terms of the characteristics that made them inspiring. But it looks like some of our top ones are strategic thinking and strategic perspective, with almost 20% of the participants seeing that. And then close behind is authenticity with 17%. And then we have a range of things from vision and passion and communication ability and commitment and coaching and mentoring, all being in the, just under 10%. So that's terrific. I mean, and there is no single right answer here, as we said when we were setting this up. This is really it's a range of these characteristics that are really important to leaders. But it's great that you all have had some experience of seeing this firsthand and experiencing it. So as we go through this, you can relate to that as you think it through.
Hey,
okay.
Peter,
yeah.
A couple of people have written in. We have some saying confidence.
Oh, great.
Willingness and ability to use diversity to inspire and create value. I think that's a nice different one.
That is a nice one, yes. Mm-hmm.
Compassion.
I'm sorry, what was the first you said?
Confidence.
Confidence. It's a great one. Yeah. And so the willingness to use diversity, confidence, and sorry, what was the third?
There's one that says competency and then compassionate integrity. Compassionate
integrity. Great. All of these really important and very good additions to our list here. So thank you for those who wrote in comments. So let's move forward. So first we're going to build off of that and just look at characteristics of inspiring leaders. Now, as we just discussed, there are many different characteristics that are valuable for inspiring leaders to have, and certainly I want to embrace that idea. What I've done here, though, is selected a couple that are particularly useful and important, and in my work with leaders, I find are really impactful for them to really embrace and demonstrate in their leadership. The first of those is being passionate. Inspiring leaders are by nature very passionate. They are passionate about what their vision is. They're passionate about their particular business or their product or their customer group or their cause if they're a leader of a nonprofit. They bring that to the work that they do. They're very positive and optimistic, and they tend to be very committed to whatever it is they're doing. So that passion that people can just tangibly feel is a very important characteristic. The second characteristic is visionary, and this is having a view of the future and a perspective, an idea, a compelling vision and strategy that you are chasing after that others can rally around. So it's that desire to really focus on the future, to see opportunities, to go after them, and these people partnered with visionary, they're very strategic thinkers. They tend to have a very big picture perspective. So they are looking at things in a very macro sense. The third characteristic is motivating. If you're going to be a leader, you've got to be able to motivate people. And that ability to really excel at rallying the troops, to enroll people in your vision, to provide a purpose for the work that you're doing, a reason why it's important, and then with all those things to be able to motivate total engagement and excellent work out of the team are critical factors for a visionary leader. And finally, authenticity. Your leadership voice is only going to be as powerful and as inspiring as people believe that it's the authentic you, that you really believe in what you're saying, and that you are walking the talk of what you are setting forward as your vision and your leadership. So authenticity is a critical factor here for an inspiring leader. Now, we've talked about characteristics. Let's go into talking about what is this? What is inspiring leadership? And again, there are many definitions here, and all of them very powerful and very important. I've selected a couple that, again, in my work with leaders, I've found to be particularly important and particularly compelling, and that are relevant for anyone, certainly everyone on the call, in terms of what can you do in terms of inspiring leadership. So it starts with a compelling vision. I just spoke about that a minute ago in terms of visionary people. What do I mean by a compelling vision? A compelling vision is having a sense of a goal, a sense of an objective, a sense of a direction that you want to go. It's a view of the future that you are chasing after. In a sense, it is a what of what is it that you're trying to accomplish. But it's also a why. It's why are you chasing after this? Why is what you are creating important? And who is it important to? This is really a critical part for getting others to care about your vision. There's got to be something in it that makes people want to join your cause, in a sense. So that compelling vision component is the what and the why that makes others want to join your cause. Now, interestingly, I often find that leaders that I work with assume people know this, that they've set out forth a strategy and they've said, this is what we're doing, and that everybody understands it and they're going to jump on board. And 9 times out of 10, they're wrong. And the reason they're wrong is because they haven't done the work to translate that macro level goal into something that people see as a mission, that people see as a compelling vision that they really want to join up on. It takes the strategy, it takes the communication, it takes the passion, it takes all of these things together to really get people to care about the leadership vision that you're setting forth. So doing that, having that compelling vision is critically important. Now, the thing that marries with that is the next thing is to deliver impact. Your vision is going to have an outcome, and that outcome should have an impact that matters. So having an impact connected to the vision that is meaningful, that promises results that are going to be inspiring to people is critically important. And being able to paint the picture for people of what your vision is going to deliver is critically important. And of course, you need to be able to deliver on that promise. So this is not about creating a vision that has no hope of coming to life. This is about creating a vision that then can really be delivered and can deliver an impact that people care about. And then the third factor is making a difference. So having that impact actually make a difference. Who is it that you are trying to create something for? Is it a customer group? Is it a business partner? Is it a organization that you're trying to help to become a better provider of services to a group of the population? Whatever it is, you want the thing that you're doing to make a difference that people care about and that they want to get engaged in. So these 3 things, having the vision, making sure that the vision is connected to a set of goals that are going to deliver impact and that you know how you're going to deliver the impact, and then making sure that that ultimately makes a difference that people care about, are 3 critical components of inspiring leadership. Now, I imagine that all of you in your career have had some opportunity, whether it's in your academic career or in your work career, to do something that has made a difference during your career. It may be something, relatively small and targeted, that a project that you've been working on. It might be something very big of starting a new business or launching a new product or reaching out to a whole new group of customers. Whatever it is, you undoubtedly took components of this, the compelling vision, delivering impact, and making a difference, and applied it to make it happen. So I invite you to think about how you did that and who you inspired and what were the kind of trajectories that you used to make that happen.
So, Peter.
Yeah.
Just thinking here a minute about, when times when I felt like I was a leader and people who were inspiring to me about how to be a leader and maybe struggling a little. I'm wondering if you have a really good example of that, of someone who has a great vision and then has that ability to deliver it and make a difference.
Sure. That's a great question. And I can think of a number of examples of it, including my own examples of things that I've done. But let me pick one that everyone on the phone can hopefully relate to because it's a Brown-related example. When President Simmons came in to start her tenure at Brown, she took a survey of the landscape here, the situation at Brown, and what needed to get done, and she very much focused on the academic experience at Brown. And what she saw was an opportunity to greatly enhance the academic experience from a really wonderful experience to an outstanding and excellent experience. And so she put together a vision that was, became known as the Plan for Academic Enrichment, that was all about making a commitment, making an investment, making a multi-year plan that was going to dramatically improve the academic experience at Brown. And so she went about setting together a plan, identifying the impact that it would have, the increased number of faculty positions, the investments in the campus infrastructure, the investments in academic programs, the investments in student programs that collectively could deliver this impact that she was looking at. And then ultimately, of course, she wrapped it in the reason that she was doing it, the making a difference, which was all about coming out the other end, that Brown would have significantly upgraded its academic and enriched its academic experience to a new level that was worthy of the future that Brown was creating for itself. So President Simmons put this whole package together, and then she very, very expertly communicated it and enrolled the Brown community in it. She got the faculty on board, she got the student body on board, she got the alumni body on board. Critically important, of course, because the alumni body was going to be a significant source of funding for getting the vision to deliver. So that's a small example that we can all relate to of something that's recently happened where someone set about, saw an opportunity, saw a need, created a compelling vision, focused on how it was going to deliver impact, and then ultimately translated that into a difference that people cared about and could get engaged in.
Yeah, that's definitely a great example. Thanks, Peter.
Great. So, all right, let's move forward. And we'll move to who can be an inspiring leader. So, I'm sure all of you are sitting on the call going, okay, well, I want to think about this in terms of my career and how it's relevant to me and so forth. Well, my first thing that I want to say is that everyone can be a leader at any level and at any situation, and anyone can be an inspiring leader, in terms of the way that you go about it. So, when I say this, it's not just the people who are in a leadership, promoted into a leadership role, for example, leading a division or leading a team, or anointed as leaders because they've been given a specific title that carries with it, or a specific position that carries with it leadership responsibilities. No matter what role you're playing, whether you're just an individual contributor, you still have the opportunity to be an inspiring leader. It's about finding the opportunity and having the vision for that opportunity to make a difference. So given that, you could be an entrepreneur. Certainly entrepreneurs are inspiring leaders because they're all about creating something new and going out and building a team and building a business and building a product and whatever it might be. You can be a member of a team that's chasing after a goal. You can be a manager of a team that's chasing after a goal. As I said already, you can be an individual contributor. You can be a small business owner who is expanding your business or serving a customer group in a particularly effective way. You can be an external consultant who comes in and really adds value to an organization in terms of the strategic thinking and inspirational leadership you provide. You can be a volunteer at a nonprofit organization that is really benefiting from your insight and your leadership. And you can even be a job seeker. For job seekers, I think this is particularly important because your ability to demonstrate a leadership viewpoint, a leadership vision, to be inspiring of that as you go through the job search process is going to set you apart from others and is going to be really critical to your success. So it's really about how you choose to show up that is critical to your success at being an inspiring leader. It's about how you choose your attitude and your approach to how you choose to find an opportunity to create a vision, to enroll others in your vision. That's really critical. And the things I would say is it's about being intentional and strategic. It's intentional about what it is that you're going after, and intentional about how you commit yourself to that vision. And then it's strategic about how you're going through influencing others, communicating to others, enrolling them, getting a plan done, and delivering impact and making a difference. So another thing I'd like to say about being an inspiring leader is it comes from within you. It's got to be aligned with your authentic self. We talked a bit ago about characteristics of inspiring leaders and that authenticity was one of the critical components of it, and certainly for yourself it's a critical component. So making sure that your leadership is aligned with your authentic self is, first of all, it's going to make you more powerful, but critically it's going to make others believe in what your vision is, and it's going to make others want to support you. So a couple of things here that will help you do that. First is it should be aligned with your passions. And by passions, I'm not talking about your hobbies. I'm talking about your passions for the parts of your work and your career that really call to you, that you feel great passion for and great insight into, that where you can really make a difference. So, whether that be where you might be an expert on customer service and you have a passion for generating the next level of customer care in your organization, or if you are in business development and your passion is finding a new group of customers that you really want to be able to demonstrate how your company and how your product set can make a difference for those customers. Or if you are, a fundraiser and you want to bring a whole new group of donors into your organization, and you want to communicate and engage those potential donors in how your organization can make a difference. Whatever it might be, you have to have the passion for it to really be authentic in your inspiring leadership. The next thing is that it ought to build on your personal brand assets. Now, in an earlier webinar, we talked about personal branding and a lot of the different components that go into personal branding, and those really come to play here. This is about leveraging the personal brand assets that you have. So that's your expertise. All of you have expertise in a number of different areas that you've developed during your academic experience and your career, and it's really being very self-aware about what those expertises are and what the value of them is in you providing leadership. And your skills, the various skills that you've developed during your academic career and your work career. And then your interests, and your interests sort of align with your passions, but the interest in taking those skills and then applying them to your vision. And then finally, it's that desire to make a difference, that desire to contribute in a way that really has an impact out in the marketplace. And whether that is making a difference for a customer group, achieving a set of results, maybe it's some financial results that you're really committed to delivering on and maybe exceeding. Maybe it's innovation that is your driving desire, and you're all about creating a new idea, or creating a new business, creating a new product. Whatever it might be, it's got to be authentic to who you are, and that has to be the cornerstone of your inspiring leadership.
So, Peter, it seems like this is the time to take a break.
Okay.
And I think you and I had talked about maybe there was a chat you wanted to throw out here to people.
Yeah. This is a good opportunity. I'd love to hear from you all. Now I want to turn it to your leadership or your leadership opportunities, and ask, what are some characteristics that you've used in your own leadership that have helped you be inspiring to others? what are some of the things that have really helped you to be successful in a leadership role? Why don't we open up the chat boxes for you all to type in a couple of ideas, and we'll put those out there. So the chat box is there on the right-hand side, and please go ahead and add in some thoughts.
Hey, Peter, we're getting a lot of people sending in information. What's great is that several people have already sent in listening and really being there to listen to the people that work for them. And I know that's something that you're also going to talk about, with bringing people on board. So that's nice to see here.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's absolutely, listening is such a critical skill in leadership overall, and certainly in inspiring leadership. Really, really an important characteristic to bring in.
A lot of other great responses here. Let's see, observational skills, awareness of industry trends, authentic communication, owning your errors.
Oh, I love that. Owning your errors. Love it. Very, very important. Again, coming back to authentic self and inspiring leadership. It's such a simple thing and such an important thing to own when you make an error, when you make a mistake, or when you were wrong. If somebody comes along who convinces you of a different idea or something, or a better idea, to be able to say, you know what, that's a better idea. You've improved upon what I was doing, or you've proved me wrong. You've proved me I was going down one path, but you've shown me that there's a better path. How powerful is that? Imagine what that's going to do to get other people to say, this is somebody who listens to me and I want to be working with or working for. That's great. All these are great. The observational skills and the external environment and all, these are terrific. Any other?
I just want to share a few more. Yes, there's so many more that are coming in here.
Yeah.
Helping other team members feel like they're part of the story, and I know you're going to talk a lot about that.
Mm-hmm.
More on authenticity, communication, being willing to take a chance, something different.
Risk-taking. Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, understanding that people are different, and understanding how people might need to be treated with different, according to their different personalities. Just lots of things coming in here, guys. I can't get to them all. Aligning motivators, passions.
Oh, this is wonderful. Oh, I'm loving this. This is great. I'm just hearing so many good themes out of this. I love the comment there about recognizing differences and, earlier we had a comment about leveraging diversity and so forth. And, it's so important that you utilize the brain trust that you have and the different points of view that you have on your team, and how that can make for a better answer. And risk-taking, of being able to take smart risks and experiment and learn what's going to work because you're not afraid to make a mistake. All really, really important. So, well, Heather, these are terrific, and I appreciate everybody's enthusiasm in giving us such great stuff. I'm going to close this out now and move forward, but please keep that thinking going, because we'll have another chat in a little bit, and you can add to that. So, I've already touched on why this is important to your career, but let's spend a minute on this. Just as I said that anyone can be a leader and it can happen at any level and in any job, I also want to point out that this is really an important thing for your career, and everyone, wherever you are in your career, should be thinking about your opportunities to be an inspiring leader and how to bring that into your career plan. This is important for any career phase, whether it's your current job, your current role, whether it's for your future advancement, whether within your company or within another company in the industry. It's important. It's really important if you're in job search. We talked earlier about this is something that can set you apart when you're talking to a hiring manager. This is really important that you be able to demonstrate leadership and demonstrate an ability to inspire others when you're going through the job search. And, also if you are thinking about transitioning careers, moving from one field or one type of career to a new career, your ability to make that translation of your old expertise and your old skills into a new environment is, again, critical, and your ability to show visionary leadership is critical. So really, any phase of your career, this is really important. And why is it important? Well, first, being able to demonstrate inspiring leadership really defines who you are and how you create impact. It is how others see you. That personal brand idea, it's the living example of your personal brand. So when you actually demonstrate inspired leadership, you are defining who you are for others, and you're demonstrating how you create impact. People are going to remember that. That's going to become the if you will, the brand essence that people think about you. So, it's critical that you think about this strategically, because it's like, what's the image you want to have in the network that you live in? The second thing is that it gives you a focus and a purpose for your leadership. By having that vision and having that direction of impact and making a difference, it really gives you a focus for your activities. All of us have too much on our plate to do all the time. We live in the 24/7 world where there's demands coming on us all the time. Being able to define and articulate your particular leadership vision and the way that you are going to make an impact and make a difference gives you a focus that can in a sense, wall out all the noise and keep you focused on the purpose that you really want to deliver. The other stuff's not going to go away, but you're going to prioritize the things that you are, the vision that you have, and give yourself a focus that's going to help you. And finally, it identifies your strategic career direction. This kind of ties back to the first one, but particularly for you, all of those of you who might be in job search or thinking about career transition, being able to articulate a strategic career direction is obviously one of the critical things. Anyone who's out there networking or interviewing knows that that's a constant question you're going to be asked by people. Where do you want to go with your career? What's your goal? How do you see yourself contributing? So your ability to answer this question in a way that demonstrates leadership vision, that demonstrates an ability to motivate others, that demonstrates an ability to make an impact and make a difference, is going to set you apart. These are the things that hiring managers are looking for. So your ability to articulate, communicate, express it in a way that is very powerful is going to make a huge difference. So, being able to help others help you by identifying your strategic career direction is a critical component here. Let's go into then, what is it? How do you achieve this idea of inspiring leadership? Now we're really going to go in the how-to part of the presentation. The first part of it, we've talked about this already, but I want to reiterate it. The first part of this is to establish a clear vision for your leadership. It's really about looking for something that is an opportunity, a need, a new business idea, a better process, a process improvement, maybe a new product idea, whatever it might be, a high-level goal that you seek to achieve. It can be really any initiative, large or small, but one where you making a difference will be meaningful. So, it's finding that, being strategic about finding that opportunity and then creating a clear vision around it for what you want your leadership to be. And then you need to be able to communicate it in a clear and compelling way so that you can engage others and excite others in helping you to achieve it. So there's a couple of steps to making this happen. The first is to articulate what you stand for. What is your purpose? When I talked earlier about compelling vision, I said it's both a what and a why. And this is really the big why part of that. What you stand for is why your leadership vision is important, why others should care, why it matters that whatever it is that you're standing for gets accomplished. And this is you being strategic about it and being able to be articulate about it in a way that it excites and engages other people to join in. The second part of that then is to be able to articulate where you're going. Make it tangible. What is your overall objective in creating this leadership vision? And then what are a macro set of goals that would help you achieve this? To go back to the example I talked about with President Simmons, the vision, the purpose was to improve the overall academic experience at Brown. the objective was to make a serious investment in upgrading the academic facilities and faculty, and then the goals got very specific about ways that was going to happen. So being able to articulate that, again, and this is something we're all very used to in any type of job that we have. We know about objectives and goals, but this is being strategic about making sure that the objectives and goals really sell your leadership vision and really define your leadership vision in a way, again, that will be compelling to others. The third thing then is how you will lead, what your values and intentions are. And this, I have to say, this is probably the one that is most often overlooked by leaders, certainly the leaders that I work with, is that they are probably guilty of assuming that everyone knows this or that people will just figure this out on their own. Well, what do I mean by values and intention? I mean the kind of cultural way that you're going to operate as a leader and the way that you want your team to operate as a team. What kind of things do you want to be putting in place that kind of are the norms and the rules that the team will operate by? For example, do you want them to treat each other with respect and to listen to each other and to hear everybody's ideas and to have open debates? Do you want to have transparent communications? Do you want to put a value on teamwork that includes helping your fellow teammates when they run into problems? What are the values that you're going to display in terms of how you deal with your colleagues? How are you going to deal with your management? What are the intentions, the outcomes of those values? So I can't say enough about how important this is, but again, it's often overlooked. And so again, be strategic about creating that vision for your leadership to make sure you don't overlook this. Make sure that you're incorporating the values and articulate them. Don't leave it for others to figure out. Be very articulate and communicate what the values are that you want for the team. And then finally, let's come back to that solid foundational idea of how you're going to make a difference. In this case, not just the outcome overall, but also including the impact and the results that you're going to generate. So, be able to articulate that vision of what is the impact that you're going to create for your customer and in your marketplace. Okay, so with that, then let's go into how you then continue that process. The second part is that you have to be a great communicator and communicate your vision with clarity and passion. Your ability to engage and enroll others is going to be very dependent on how well you are communicating what your vision is and how you're going to get there. So a couple of steps within that. The first is to keep it simple. Complexity is the enemy of leadership here. Simple communication, straightforward, very, very focused, really important to help your audience understand what it is that you're all about and where you're trying to go. I just said focused. It needs to be focused on the task at hand. Don't allow extraneous details to come in and clutter up your vision. There's plenty of time to get down the decision tree of the detailed processes that need to be put in place, but when you're selling the idea, you don't need to get to that level of detail. Keep it focused on the high-level idea, the high-level strategies. The third thing is that you want to be inviting. This is all about getting others to participate in your idea. So you want to invite people to be a part of building out the idea. You want to invite feedback. You want to be a very active listener. We heard before from many of you about how important communication skills are, listening skills are to great leadership. And you want to invite that by being an active leader. You want to invite debate. You get much better ideas if you debate through the issues. You want to be a synthesizer, somebody who really takes all the ideas that are coming in and make your vision a better vision because you've got input from others. And then finally, you want to make sure you have a call to action. Part of the reason you are communicating your vision and communicating your leadership opportunity is you want others to support you and you want others to get engaged. So you have to ask them to get engaged. Make sure that whenever you are communicating with your audience, you have a request, a specific request that asks them to get involved. Make it strategic for what you need from them, what kind of engagement you're looking for from them, but make sure that you do it as part of your communications. Okay, so that leads us right into engaging and motivating your team and your colleagues. It's very important that you focus on engaging and motivating your team so that you will accomplish your vision. Very few leaders out there can accomplish their leadership vision on their own. They're going to need the support and the hard work of others to achieve their goals. So inspiring leadership is about figuring out a way to really build a level of engagement among your teams and colleagues that is excited and committed as you are to achieving the vision. So the first step of this is enrollment. That's all about selling your vision and its importance to your target audience, whether that be your team, your colleagues, in the case of an entrepreneur, maybe your investment community, if you're a job seeker to a potential hiring manager. You've got to enroll them in your leadership vision and your strategy for why they should care. So this is your very first step and a really critical step. The second step is alignment. This is where you go through that process of listening, of inviting, of having the debates, of hearing the ideas, the feedback, getting additional expertise, maybe doing the influence piece of this where you're going out to influence critical audiences that you need on board, but you're also using them to influence other audiences that may be skeptics and who you need to get on board. So this alignment phase is really important, and your goal in the alignment phase is through this active discussion and listening and feedback is to get to a point where you've improved the idea so that others will join in and become a part of your team. Which leads to the next step, which is ownership. Ownership happens when your audience has become engaged enough to have skin in your vision, that they feel that they are respected, that they've been included in your thought process, that they've been listened to, they've contributed to making your vision and your goal better, and now they have a stake in it. They want to make it happen. So when you achieve that, then you have ownership. Your team shares ownership in your vision and your outcomes, and therefore your chances of success are going to increase exponentially. Very, very powerful to get this ownership. And finally, that leads to accountability. Once you have ownership and once you have people sharing your ownership, they will willingly share the accountability. They really want to have the accountability, and they'll take on aspects of your vision to make it happen. So they're now committed, as you are, to achieve the success. They're motivated. They want to be a part of a winning team, and they know what their accountability is as part of this leadership vision. And then finally, there's the commitment and authenticity. Again, making full circle here back to one of the comments at the beginning about authentic. You have to demonstrate that you are powerfully committed to your leadership vision in everything you do. Being 100% committed to your vision, not just in your words, but also in your actions, is critical to conveying a sense of mission and importance that others want to be a part of. Truly, in this case, this is walking the talk and being able to enroll others in your team supporting you. And then it's got to be authentic to you. Your voice and your leadership will only be as powerful as people believe it's coming from the authentic you, that it is totally true for who you are that you are articulating this vision. If there is a disconnect between the vision that you're putting out and what people see as the authentic you, you are in trouble. You are not going to get the enrollment and the commitment from others to support you in your vision. Now, I think we've all experienced times when we've questioned the commitment and authenticity of a leader who's asking for our support. And, quite honestly, if any of you think about that, you know how hard it is for you to fully jump on board and feel committed when that's the case. So, in being an inspiring leader, it's critical that your audience, whether it be your team, your colleagues, a hiring manager, donors for a nonprofit organization, whoever it might be, it's critical that they do not have any doubts about your personal commitment and your authenticity about the vision that you've set out. That's kind of a closing thought there on how you achieve inspiring leadership. The others are kind of how-tos, but this is foundational. You have to have the commitment and the authenticity for people to really believe in this and to jump on board with it.
Peter,
so, yeah.
That's a lot of great information. I'm wondering, there's a couple of questions coming in around vision and clarity and passion. I'm wondering if you have a good example maybe you could share with us?
Sure. I'm going to actually this time use a personal example. This is earlier in my career, I was in the world of credit card marketing, and my target audience was small business owners, and my job was to try to get more and more small business owners to sign up to become card members of our particular card product. This was back in the days when direct mail was the marketing channel of choice, and my team was a team that was generating over 90 million pieces of mail a year. 90 million. That's a lot of junk mail. But one of the things that we found is we inspiring leaders always take a fresh look at the current situation and, where there may be opportunities to improve. So in this case, we were going through an assessment of a very successful business model, a very successful, we call this acquisition when you're trying to get new customers in, a very successful acquisition program, and yet we had a sense that we could be doing it better. Well, as we began to dig under the covers and look at it, one of the things that we found was we were doing a great job of getting people to respond to our offers and to say yes, they wanted to get our card product for their business. And then we put them through the credit approval process, and lo and behold, we would end up turning down 65% of the people who came in our door and said yes, they wanted our product. 65% we said no to. That is abominable. I mean, when you think about it, what kind of business goes out and invites people to become part of their business, and then when people say yes, they turn around and say no to 65% of them. So that became my leadership rallying cry. I was the head of this group, and I was like, this is untenable. We cannot keep doing this. Now this was a very complicated problem to solve, and it was going to involve a lot of people who had to join on board on this, and a lot of expertise that I personally did not have. But what I realized was I had to make my vision and my mission simple enough that everyone could get on board. And so the approach I took was, I said, my vision is we have to flip this thing around. We have to go from 65% no to 65% yes. And that was simple enough that everybody on the team, no matter what their role, whether they were credit analysts or whether they were marketers or whether they were customer service people, everybody got that. Everybody got that we had to take a bad customer experience and turn it into a good customer experience. And so then we could go the steps of, from the vision, we created that objective of 65 no to 65 yes, and then the goals that were going to support that. And then we worked through those components of making sure everybody on the team knew it. We did the communication. We kept it simple, but we kept it very focused. And we enrolled everybody. We went through thinking who needs to be involved, whose help do we need. We did that whole phase of inviting in ideas, inviting in contributions of how do we do this, debating the different issues, because of course it was a difficult thing to figure out how to do. It was going to take time, it was going to take money, it was going to take resources. Everybody had to believe that I was really committed to this and that I wasn't going to halfway through say, oh, well, something else came along and we're going to change our attention over to this. Because we were asking people to fundamentally change the work processes and workflows that they do to create the ability to make this change. So I'm proud to say that we actually accomplished that, and we did enroll the team in the vision. But it took work, it took strategy, it took constant communication on where we were and where we were going to be able to turn that around. And we ended up building an entirely new process and entirely new models that achieved that goal of getting to 65% yes. So, I realize I'm talking a little bit in code here, but the important thing is that communications, that making it a simple goal, that tying it to the customer experience were the things that really made everyone on the team be willing to step up and change the way that they do things. So hopefully that's a good example. I'm happy to come up with some others or to hear from the audience.
That was a great example, and it really went through some of the steps needed. There were a couple of questions that have come in along those lines as well. So some people were asking about sharing value. Can you talk a little bit about that process, maybe if you have an example about that, sharing your values for your vision, and sort of what are some different ideas to do that and to get people on board if their values might not be in line?
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually have both an example and some steps. I'll actually start with the steps because just in case we're short on time. One of the things that I think is really important for a leader to do in terms of creating values for the team, the shared values, is to actually invite the team to be the ones who do this work. I don't mean delegate it where the leader releases their own responsibility in it, but I mean engaging the team and helping to create the values. So, in this case, this may be having a work session with your team where this is the only topic that you talk about, and you're like, okay, we're taking on this new vision. It's going to require tremendous effort on all of our parts. Everybody's got to be aligned and on board with this thing. Let's talk about as a team how we want to operate so that we are doing the work in a way that everyone feels supported, everyone feels aligned, everyone feels respected, everyone feels like their voices are being heard. All of these questions that are values questions, and get the team to talk about it and get the team to work through and align on it. What's great about doing that type of a process is that you create ownership within the team to own the values that they are creating. If you in a sense dictate the values, you create a set of values and you give them to the team and say, these are my expectations, this is what I expect you to live by, you're not really getting them to own it and feel aligned with it. They're just saying, okay, that's a dictate from down on high. If you ask them to take a part in creating it, then they're going to have that ownership and that sense of alignment with one another in creating those values. So, I think what the leader needs to do is provide some guidelines for the development of shared values. What is it that you're looking to accomplish in a discussion about shared values? But then I think it's really important to get the team engaged in that. And that can be done in many different ways. And you can think about what is most appropriate for your situation. But that would be the recommendation I would go for. So Heather, did that address?
Yes, I thought that was a great answer. I was just reading some more questions coming in.
Okay.
This was one that I thought I really wanted to hear the answer myself because it is tricky. In a world of virtual teams and email and web meetings, how do you best leverage the communication that's not face-to-face? And, I think you and I face that, and I face that every month with trying to do the webinar series. It's, really being able to communicate to people so that they can get a better feel for your vision.
This is a wonderful, wonderful question, and so obviously appropriate given the communication world that we live in nowadays. And again, this is where going from accidental to intentional is a great way to think about this. We've been blessed and cursed with a plethora of technological tools to allow us to communicate with each other. And what most of us have not bothered to do is to establish protocols of how to use technology in a way that's most effective for each of us. And we each of us have our own individual preferences of how we like to use technology, but we don't necessarily check in with our colleagues to find out what their preferences are. So, your preference might be to do everything by texting, and never pick up the phone and never bother to write a long email, but just do everything in short text and figure that's the best way to communicate. And you might be doing that with a colleague who really kind of has an aversion to texting and who prefers to have at least phone-to-phone conversation about an issue, and who wants the ability to be more nuanced through a conversation than you can be through an online chat. And yet you don't have that interaction where you say, my preference is texting, but does that work for you? Is that okay? Or would you prefer that we sometimes have a phone conversation? What works best for you? That inviting feedback from others to kind of check in and say, is this working for you? Is there something that you prefer? How can I best meet your needs? It's a simple thing to do. It's a 2-minute conversation, but it can make a world of difference in how effective your communications are. So being intentional of asking the questions, of inviting the feedback, is something that it takes a little effort to do it, and it takes some forethought to do it, but it can pay big dividends. And I think most of us, unfortunately, are guilty of just falling into patterns and never asking our colleagues whether it's working for them. So that would be my advice there, would be to reach out and ask. Within a team, so to bring this back to the team conversation I was just talking about before, I think this is part of the values conversation. Part of the values conversation should be about expectations of communications. When is it appropriate to use email? When is it appropriate to have a conference call? When is it appropriate to demand a face-to-face meeting? Sometimes maybe you need to get the team all together in one room to really interact with each other in a face-to-face setting because maybe it's some critical issue that requires that. Or maybe it's team building that would benefit, that trust building that comes with team building that would benefit by that. So, this is part of where teams need to kind of co-create their values, and communications is part of those values.
Thank you, Peter. You're continuing to give us good examples, and as you were saying that, I've had a lot of ideas came through my head of past experiences or examples of when, people just didn't want to communicate the same way. They preferred a phone call over an email, or they only wanted to communicate that way. I am noticing the time, so I'm hoping that we can wrap it up. There's a couple more questions. We may try and answer those through emails if possible. But I also wanted to thank you and everybody who has come on today. We've appreciated that you have asked questions and that you've participated, and we've really appreciated Peter and everything he's given to us today. I did just want to take a second to remind you that we offer a lot of online tools through the Brown Alumni Relations. We have our Brown Alumni Career Navigator. And basically, we tried to offer you some resources that covered the 4 main career development issues: assessment, we have a tool called Focus, plus we have our career coaching program that we set up for just these sort of questions, higher level, complex issues. How do I do branding? How do I, work with a difficult boss? Things like that. We have a research tool if you're out there trying to search for a special career field, for a special industry, for a special location. That's a good tool for you. In addition, we have our job board. I don't know if it's this webinar or if it's an uptick in the economy, but we have been increasing our numbers of jobs on the job board every month. And I did hit a high of 620 the other day. I think today I'm at 570. So please check that. And it may not be that today there's the perfect job for you on there, but there may have been a job in the past. There may be an employer on there, so I encourage you to use that. And then, of course, we have some great networking tools for you. We have Brunet, which is your career network. It's all Brown alums who have said, yes, I want to be there for my fellow alumni. And we have our LinkedIn groups. There's, I believe, 10,000 in our LinkedIn groups. I'm sure that our communications director will email me with a new number after this. She always does. Heather, now we're at this number. So there are lots of resources for you. If you've liked this webinar and the others, we do have one more this year. And to let you know, we are developing a webinar series for next year. We've tried to take in your feedback. Thank you for those who've given us feedback. And if you have more, please send it to us. So next month, we are going to have Sarah talk about gaining confidence and respect and really all about communication. And she's going to pull in interviewing and career and communication into that webinar. Peter has been gracious to be with us today. He's done a wonderful job. We really appreciate your information. He is a wealth of information, and he can be contacted either at his email address or at his website, and you can see that there. You can also get to Peter if you lose this through the BAA website, and that's here. If you need to see any of those tools, you can get to them through this alumni.brown.edu. If you want to be part of the conversation with Brown Alumni Careers, please check us out on Facebook or Twitter. I do tweet most of the jobs that come in. We do tweet information about the webinars, career articles, and things like that are going on Facebook, and we also make that a place to ask for your feedback. Peter, do you have any final thoughts for today?
Yes, I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure to speak with you all about this topic, inspired leadership. Really something that I have a great deal of passion for personally, and I appreciate all of your interest. And my thanks to Heather to be a great partner in crime here in making this all happen. It's really been a great experience. So wishing you all a great productive Friday afternoon and a wonderful weekend.